Once again, for those of you just coming in, as a courtesy to your fellow media members, please turn off your phones and provide us your name and affiliation when you ask a question during that portion of the news conference. Recording the press conference by cell phone is not prohibited, so don't let me embarrass you. And we'll address questions in the room first and then Zoom as time permits. Link, give us an overview. Congratulations.
Thank you. Clearly, well-played game. Two great left-handed arms going at it. Both of them, the stats, I think there was a third of an inning total that separated the two, 103.1, 103.2, if I was on that right. Very similar. Like both guys in total control of what they're doing in the game, in every phase of the game. Like you could see the fielding abilities on the bunts, like the similarities in what was going on, just unique to see those two type of guys go at it. So you have both sides a difficult task, and we felt like there were some things we were going to have to do, supplementing just pure driving the ball. I mean, you hope that happens, but the stolen base, the hit and run where Coatsy hit the ball into left field, Lamanna, and I don't know who was on first, but with 3-2 count, we ran Lamanna, which I haven't done a lot, but you feel like you're going to get some strikes, and our guys clearly were seeing the ball pretty well. The little squeeze helped. It was fun because I thought all the variety of our offense, which I've sat here and talked to you guys about, was on display a little bit today. There's a couple balls that left the stadium. Bunting, some base running, and then just some good. The two out hit by Myers, that was a big one. And I could go on and on about some of the game within the game stuff. JM pitched great. We had it. Not saying we had it right where we wanted it, but we had it once he got deep enough into the game. We were hoping that maybe we could use a righty just to give Texas something different to look at. And Rayo was fine. He got the 2 strikeouts. I know we had the wild pitch on the ball up, but he did get the 2 punch-outs and kind of held the 6th inning to 1 run for them. And then the 2 line drives at Brannigan, he caught them. They were clearly hit hard, and then he looked like the 4-pitch walk. I don't know exactly what happened. It looked like he was on it, and then he wasn't. But we had Finley right where we needed him, and that lineup had rolled its way back to the one left-handed hitter. So Finley got to come in and face a lefty. So luckily it kind of fell into place for the bullpen, but the guys still have to go out and pitch, and they did. I thought all of our infield, if you just go around the diamond, Brannigan made some nice plays. Preisner, solid, picked it up, drove it over there. Miller, the one play. You were almost hoping that would stay as an out just so that counted, I guess. I don't know, the play he made, and Putz plays at first base. So there it was. It was fun for you and the fans and the country that to watch our team, because I feel like when we're playing well, that's what we do. And I'm very proud of them to come into this atmosphere and perform for the first time that well-rounded of a game against clearly a phenomenal program, team, talented. I couldn't be happier with the guys.
Okay, let's start with questions for the student athletes. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. And name and affiliation, please. Okay, here you go, John.
John Bryce, Irish Sports Daily, for both John Michael and Jared. There's been a lot of talk about you guys being underdogs throughout, but now you went 3-0 in Statesboro, you won at Tennessee, you won here tonight. What kind of statement do you think you're making about Notre Dame? Do you think it's time for people to maybe realize that Notre Dame's a pretty good team?
John Michael, you start.
Yeah, I think it kind of all starts with the preparation and what the coaching staff is able to do, preparing us for, like we said before, the last hour, as well as just like the finite details of the game. It doesn't really matter to us if we're underdogs or projected to win. Kind of the message is to go 1-0, and so by any means go 1-0.
I think at this point in the season, kind of all the training you've done the whole entire year shows itself out on the field. And I missed a little bit of time, but once I got back in there, I just turned into compete mode. And when you get out there and there's all the fans and all the pressure, you kind of just zero in, and it's just the pitcher and the ball and you. And you just want to find a barrel. the atmosphere and the adrenaline usually helps out.
John Michael, the other day, in talking with Coach Jarrett, he said that you had to have your A game today and mentioned several things that you need to improve upon from your last time out in Knoxville. Could you explain your performance today?
Yeah, I was able to go fastball to both sides of the plate with a cutter into the righties, which wasn't called, but it was enough to kind of bring it back off the plate. That's a good lineup. They're coached very, very well, and there's a distinct difference in their approaches with 2 strikes versus not. So being able to bury that slider, throw the curveball for a strike, changeups away, sinkers away, and fastballs and cutters in was kind of just the way that I've been going all year. And so just being able to get back to the basics and execute 1 pitch at a time.
Okay, Mark.
Mark Garland, CWS 247. John Michael, coming out here on the big stage, playing under these lights, how do you keep your adrenaline down? What prepared you for this kind of start tonight?
Just kind of having confidence through preparation. And so knowing that when you get out there, that rubber's 60 feet, 6 inches away, and you look down at it and you know that it's not going to move and it's the same thing. And just going out there and taking it 1 pitch at a time. You don't have to go win a whole game. You don't have to go pitch the whole game. You just have to go win 1 pitch at a time and just kind of focusing on that and minimizing it.
Okay, here in the back.
Ellie French from KTV in Omaha. My question is for Jared. If you can, just describe to me the energy that John Michael brings both on and off the mound.
Yeah, when JM takes the mound, we feel really confident. And we know he's going to pound the zone, and that's good for us defenders because we like making plays. So when he's out there and he's throwing strikes, that we play with that energy behind him, and he brings that on and off the field.
Okay, we have a Zoom question.
All right, let's try a question from Danny again. Danny, go ahead.
John Michael, could you take us through that play in the 3rd inning when you fielded that bunt and decided to go to second base?
Yeah, we practice this a lot. Coach Jarrett's really good at being able to start the clock on his little stopwatch, and from the moment that ball's hit to the moment that we throw it and deliver it, with how long we have. And so usually going down the first baseline, we got about under 4-3, and the second base you got to go a little less because he's got to jump and he's got a secondary. So I know that I can attack the ball really well, and I get to the ball quickly, and being able to get that lead guy, ended up saving a run later, which was nice. But it was just kind of trusting, knowing that my guys are going to be there, and trusting the athleticism to get off the mound and get to the ball quickly and then make a decision.
Guys, thank you. We're out of time for your portion of it, but remind you that locker room's closed to all media, all times, but Matt can take care of any questions you might have. So you guys are excused. Thank you. You hang on.
They don't want to hear from me.
We got you.
No, not yet.
No,
Gotta leave it.
gotta leave it.
We'll make sure you get it.
You don't want to take it
You don't want to
until a week, next week. You don't want to take them until next week. Okay. We start off here. Kirk, our Helen Thomas starter here.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American. Link, y'all seem to have them off balance all night, and this is the first time they haven't had an extra base hit in the whole season, 68 games. So considering how dangerous their lineup is, how did you think he pitched, particularly against Melendez and Staley, who just had a couple singles and nothing else?
Yeah, from my vantage point, and this is the furthest I feel like I've ever been from the field because of the way the stadium's beautiful. It's just designed and you're kind of back. So I almost have to see this again. You guys might have a better view if you were able to watch it on a monitor somehow. He can really pitch to both sides of the plate. And when a pitcher can do that with a fastball alone, I mean, that's a lot to try to manage. And he's got some feel, and he'll manipulate it based on what he senses with a particular hitter, how he looks in the box, the stride, like what it looks like to him. So we're talking going to both sides of the plate, but like he told you, like he'll almost run that thing a little further away if he thinks that's the answer. So it's not just a fastball away. And then when he goes in, sometimes he can really four seam it and, like he said, almost like cut it in there a little bit. So just that by itself is pretty good. And then the up fastball, Hansen did a nice job with the up fastball, probably did a better job than we did going up in the zone. And this is a stadium today. You can throw up fastballs. There, you are not doing that in Knoxville, not if you want to throw the same ball again. So that's where it starts. And then I've talked numerous times about he throws 2 breaking balls, and if I can't tell which is which from the dugout, that's not good. It needs to be a curveball and a slider. And I think he had it tonight. I don't think he finished. I didn't feel like he finished people off maybe with it, but it wasn't on the barrel a lot. And then the changeup, then that's a whole nother pitch, and that allows the fastball to be better because now there's something else that's not a breaking pitch that's hard to calibrate. So those guys are good. There were a couple balls in center field. If we weren't here, they would have had their extra base hits, to be honest with you. It's just different. The basketball court's the same size everywhere. The baseball field is not, and the elements affect it. This is a big park. The only place a ball was going out was over the right fielder's head, like in that lane or to the line.
Get back over here.
Jack McGonigal, Mav Radio. Just describe the energy in the dugout and how big it was to get that lead, the second batter into the game, and be able to carry that momentum and get the win here tonight and never give that lead up. Just keep fighting and keep that lead.
Yeah, when you come out of the corners in the boxing match and you can land the first blow, it's really a good feeling. And that happened to us last Friday. And there were a bunch that night. So it just gives you the momentum and the mojo. And when you're coaching the game with a lead, you're a little more risky. I don't know if risky is the right word, but you have some options in terms of, running yourself into an out. And when you're up a little bit, it's a good feeling. You like the playbook seems to open a little bit more. So that was huge. And Miller, that I didn't play him in the regional because I was trying to get him right for, the next weekend. And obviously I wasn't holding him back thinking, man, we're going to, first game in the World Series, when is that, 17th of June? I'm going to sit him here on June 4th. Just get that. But he is a really good player, and that was neat. That was neat for him, and it was huge for the team. So when the guys feel like, okay, one of our guys, like our captain, he's back. Like that was right-handed, which was the hardest thing for him to recover in his game was his right-handed hitting. So I think when you look at what we've dealt with without him, I think that kind of sent a message to our team that, man, he's back.
Okay, Mike.
Mike LaPresti, NCAA.com. When you've thought about getting here for so long and worked so hard, and then the moment suddenly arrives tonight, how important and valuable is it to have a roster full of graduate students, seniors, guys who have been around the block in a lot of different ways? How valuable is that when the moment comes?
Huge. I think the age of the players in college, the difference between an 18 or 19-year-old and a 22 or 23-year-old in a lot of different ways. Just the maturity, the physicality, just then you get into the experience part. They know what we're trying to do. So as they're older, like with Lamana at second base, if that's a freshman catcher in Omaha and we're going to run and he knows he's not a runner, like there's no telling how that guy might respond. But I had no hesitation because of the age. It is such a difference. They've been in crowds before, but I don't think we were phased other than the ball in right center field where the two guys, it's still hard to hear. Like they're trying to call it. The age is a huge piece, and we're probably seeing better college baseball because of the age factor. Once the COVID guys, eventually this works itself out and you're back to a little more normal, and then the draft may eventually stretch back out a little bit. But this is probably the best college baseball we'll ever see because of the age of the guys that, how many of these guys probably in a normal year wouldn't be on a college team anymore? There's a lot, and they are. So you throw all that in the pot, is pretty fun.
Okay, you have back over here with Tim. Okay.
Tim Priester from Irish Illustrated. Link, you understand that Hanson's not a hard thrower, but you guys had so much hard contact against him tonight. Did you see that on film? I mean, were you confident that you were going to be able to square him up the way you did?
You know the profile of the pitches going in, but you can look at all the video and read the metrics all you want. It's still sometimes how well, when you're in the batter's box, you can pick up what's going on. Sometimes guys hide the ball really well, and sometimes there's just something that's going on that you can't quite calibrate. And until you get in there, you don't know. Our guys do a great job. Like, they come back and they tell the next guy, like, here's what it looked like. Here's the fastball. It's straight. It's got a little ride, but it's really straight. You can see the slider. Like, they do a good job of, like, force feeding the information to the guys as they go up to the plate. And that's what they do. Now, we've worked to cultivate that, but he's really good. And he ran into a group of guys tonight that had it locked in. And we spent a lot of time, Rich and Chuck and Brad, on preparing those guys. And when you look at the video like we did, we keep it at 20 minutes. We scouting report 20 minutes. Chuck, Rich, me, we divide it up. But that video, I felt like we knew what we were getting. And I would say Texas probably knew what they were getting. Until you step out there in that box and see some pitches, it's still hard to figure out exactly how it's going to play. But our guys did it, on it. Good.
Okay. Yeah, Noah?
Noah Darling, CWS 247. After such an emotional win in Knoxville, how do you kind of ride the wave with an inexperienced team in terms of making it to Omaha?
Stay out of their way. Just let them go. Like, that's the beauty of it. Like, let them go. I'm just going to tell you this, and I was thinking it during the game. It was almost as relaxed as I've been coaching a game. And that's easy to say, and I know part of it. The biggest part was because the game played out like we were hoping. If this thing goes sideways in a hurry, I'm sure I wouldn't have been, but you just kind of let them go a little bit. And there's a time you might have to change things that you're trying to do or how you approach them. But my gut was, this is not the time. There was no crazy message before the game. You just sometimes have to know when to let them go play.
Okay, John, this should be our last question.
Thanks. Link, a quick two-parter. We talk about your veterans, but Jack Finley, we're going to ask about him again. When did you see this, whether it was the fall or winter? And then the same thing I asked your players. You're now 6-1 in the postseason, maybe the only team in college baseball with wins against Texas and Tennessee. So what kind of statement do you think you continue to make about Notre Dame baseball? Thank you very much.
Well, I think the statement is made by everybody else, because I think we feel like we've done this for the better part of 2 seasons. Until you do it on a stage nationally, it's kind of hard for the statement to be. I'm not making the statement. I'm not going to go tell people I think our team's good. You have to go play well, and eventually people think, well, you guys are pretty good. So there wasn't really a statement there, and to think that you're sitting there in the first game and you're going through it and you're starting to count outs and where the lineup is and where the lefty is, you're like, if we can just get it to that freshman lefty that's never pitched relief in his life, we'll be just fine. So he's just poised and more competitive. He's so poised that there's some guys in fall or preseason practice that you can almost see. Ryan McClinsky's out, like, you knew this guy's out there. He punches himself in the face. He's dialed in. It's high fastballs and power sliders, and he's pumping his fist. Finley would just go out there and he just pitched. So you can't gauge the competitiveness until you see pitching competitively in high-stakes situations. And it looks better than it did when we were in Loftus and we were in the fall and we're pitching. He's just throwing fastballs. You're like, man, that's pretty good. But there's not it's 90, 91, 88, 90, 90, it's not 95. he's just poised. And like I talked about the other, like Texas's pitcher, Finley's fastball is hard to like wrap your mind around that some of them go that way to that side and some of them run. It's just a tough thing. And clearly, he's been very, very precise with what he's doing. Yep.
Thank you, Coach. Remind you that an extended recording of this news conference will be available at the NCAA Media Hub, and transcripts will be provided by ASAP and posted shortly. Thank you. Texas and Oklahoma will be the home teams on Sunday's games. Texas and Oklahoma. Texas A&M. I'm sorry, Texas A&M and Oklahoma will be the home teams. Read, Bill.